A scream in the night, blood on the carpet, a mother pleading for help while her world collapses around her. Darlie Routier, once seen as a loving parent, became the center of one of Texas's most controversial and chilling murder cases, a story that would divide the nation and haunt a community for decades. Darlie Lynn Routier was born in 1970 in Dallas, Texas. Outgoing, beautiful, and ambitious, Darlie seemed to have the perfect life: a happy family, a loving husband, and 2 young sons. She was admired by friends and neighbors for her charm, energy, and devotion to her children. Yet behind the smiles were tensions and pressures familiar to many suburban families. Darlie struggled with financial instability and marital strain. Some who knew her described moments of anxiety and frustration, but no one could have imagined the tragedy that would unfold in her home one summer night. On the night of June 6, 1996, Darlie's home in Rolette, Texas, became the scene of unimaginable horror. She awoke to the sound of intruders, or so she claimed, and ran to her children's room. There, she discovered that her youngest son, Damon, had been fatally stabbed, while her other son, Devon, had been seriously injured. The details of the attack were gruesome. Damon bled to death and the house was left in chaos. Darlie herself sustained cuts to her arm, later claiming she had fought off the assailant to protect her children. The horrifying scene shocked neighbors and authorities alike. The initial belief was that an intruder had entered the home, a nightmare scenario no parent should face. But as investigators examined the evidence, questions arose. Why were only Darlie's children targeted? Why were there inconsistencies in her statements? The case quickly evolved from tragedy to suspicion. Investigators meticulously reviewed the crime scene, analysing blood patterns, fingerprints, and the trajectory of the stabbings. They noted strange anomalies, footprints that didn't match known intruders, the positioning of the bodies, and details that seemed inconsistent with a break-in. Darlie's behaviour during interviews was scrutinised. Some described her as distraught and grieving, while others noted moments of composure that raised suspicion. The investigation focused on the possibility that the crime had been committed by someone within the home. By 1997, Darlie Routier was arrested and charged with the murder of her son, Damon, and the attempted murder of Devon. The community that had once admired her now watched in disbelief as a mother became the prime suspect in her own children's tragedy. Darlie's trial captivated Texas and the nation. Prosecutors painted a picture of a mother who, overwhelmed by financial pressure and personal frustration, committed the unthinkable. They argued that the injuries she claimed were from a struggle with an intruder were, in fact, self-inflicted or fabricated to mislead authorities. The defense countered with the argument of innocence, emphasizing Darlie's grief, the possibility of an actual intruder, and the circumstantial nature of some evidence. But the jury was swayed by the prosecution's narrative. In 1997, Darlie Routier was convicted of murder and sentenced to death, a verdict that ignited controversy. Many believed in her innocence, citing flaws in the investigation and lack of definitive proof. Others were convinced of her guilt, leaving Texas divided and the case a source of endless debate. Since her conviction, Darlie Routier has remained on Texas death row, maintaining her innocence. Over the years, she has pursued appeals, highlighting inconsistencies in the original investigation and raising questions about the fairness of her trial. Her story continues to attract attention from true crime enthusiasts, journalists, and legal experts. The case is frequently cited in discussions about wrongful convictions, capital punishment, and the challenges of distinguishing fact from perception in emotionally charged crimes. Darlie Routier's story is a haunting reminder of tragedy, suspicion, and the fragile boundary between grief and guilt. A mother, a community, and a family torn apart by a single night of horror. Her case remains unresolved in the minds of many, even decades later. Her name evokes both sorrow and controversy, a symbol of a crime that changed lives forever, leaving one central question lingering: can anyone truly know the truth behind the most personal, devastating acts of violence